So let's get into it. On top is a black and white circle, okay, gradation. Underneath, we've got a linear gradation here with a black and white going top to bottom. So, as you may or may not know, double click on your layer. Here in your layer styles panel, under blending options, we've got our blend if stuff. Okay, so obviously the first little drop down is your channels. You've got your gray, your red, green, blue. And we've got this layer on top and the underlying layer on the bottom. Okay, so how does this work? It's actually really simple, right? So the top layer, basically what we're doing is we're getting the blend first. So whatever blend you've chosen in your blend mode, however the two layers are blending together, we're grabbing that. That's all being calculated first. Then we're gonna toggle the visibility on and off of certain pixels of that blend layer. So what does that mean? Well, let's say that this blend layer of this circle here, we want to get rid of the dark pixels here. We'll go this layer, which is this one, and we'll start moving the dark pixels. Look at that. Whoop, 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 right? Now you'll notice that you've got this jagged, posterized, rough looking edge, okay? So almost always what you're gonna do is you're gonna hold Option. There's a little function here. When you hold Option, you click on the slider, it cracks it in two, and you can slide them apart. Now what this does is makes a smooth gradation. Check out that buttery smooth gradation. The wider it is, the bigger the gradation is going to be. So you get it really, really wide, you got this really smooth gradation going all the way down to here. Okay? You're almost always going to split them apart because unless you really like jaggedy, posterized looking stuff. Similarly, if we want to hide on this layer the pixels here that are in the light, we can go ahead and just go like that. And we're getting rid of all the lighter pixels on the blending layer on top. Okay, again, use your Alt, click that apart, spread them out. Let's get a nice little gradation going. Cool. Now, what about this underlaying layer part? How does that work? So underneath, you can see we've got this gradation from black to white here. Anything in between the four sliders, anything in the middle, as you know, is visible. Anything outside of them is invisible. So as we slide that, this white that's outside of it is invisible. Anything on the underlying layer, let's start with the dark, that is outside of this slider is gonna be invisible. We don't want it to blend. We wanna protect those darks. We don't want the blend to touch it. Let me show you. As we slide that in, see how it protects the dark pixels of the underlying layer. It says, do not blend with them. I don't want to see this blend. I want to protect them. I want to show them through. Now, this is really, really important, and you actually use this a lot. This black part here to bring in textures, to do lighting, all kinds of really awesome stuff, which I'm about to show you. Again, you split that little handle and you make a nice gradation. Woo, right? Now, similarly, on the underlying layer, what if you want to protect the highlights? You want to protect the light stuff? Well, you drag this over, right? And you say anything outside of here, I don't want it to be visible. I don't want this blend layer to touch any of these pixels. So only in between these two is the visibility. See, if I move the dark ones in as well, look at that. Only in between is the visibility, in between this part here. Let's look at the channels now, how the channels work. So let's go ahead and get ourselves a little colored circle. I'm gonna get a nice little curves layer here. And let's do red first as an illustration. So get rid of all the green, get rid of all the blue. And we've got red to black like this. So basically the black means non-red. It's 0, blue and green everywhere. So as we remove red, we get to 0, 0, 0, which is just black. And so if we go ahead and see what that looks like, it's basically, if we go here, choose the red, okay, on this layer, and we're removing the red, see? And if we remove the black, we're removing the non-red. Okay, so let's see that in action. Let's get rid of the curves to bring back all our colors again. Let's put this on top of it, right? So this guy's sitting on top, this gray one is on top. Let's go to the grays layer, double click, and under this layer, no, under the underlying layer, first change it to red. Underlying layer, say, I do not want you to touch the red stuff. As we drag that along, see how the red is all protected like that? And then if we say, hey, we want the opposite of red, right? We want the non-red stuff to be all protected. Look at that. All the non-red stuff is all protected now. Okay, that's how it works. And it's similar if we do that with green. Okay, green is protected, and here non-green is protected. Same with blue. Blue is protected, non-blue is protected. Now let's apply this. I want to show you some really cool, exciting bits. So first of all, we've got this clouds text here. So we've got this texture on top. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to clip by holding down Alt, going between the two layers. We're going to click. We're just clipping that texture to the text. Okay, so the texture is only going to appear within the text. We want to have this orange underneath show through instead of the green. We just want this rust. So easy way to do that. We notice that the turquoise is lighter and the rust is darker. So on this layer, get rid of the light pixels. As you can see, it fades away. Break that apart, and we split this to make a nice gradation. There you go. Okay, so we've got our rust texture. We can bring this texture straight in, and all we have to do is we don't have to muck around with blending modes or anything. We can go straight in and use Blend If to do that. Okay, that's really cool. Okay, let's go turn that off. I've got another little example for you here. What about if we want this text to be floating in amongst all the clouds? Well, we can notice that the clouds are like light to dark in grayness. So what we can do is we have the text sitting inside. If we have the lightest stuff sitting in front of the text and the darker stuff behind it, that'll look like it's inside of the clouds. So let's have a look. Blend If, double clicked on that layer, Blend If, underlying layer, protect the lights. Just like this, see how it eats away the text. Now that's obviously too harsh, so let's go and break that apart. Right, and do it like this. There we go. And now, as you can see, we can move this text around and it looks like it's stuck in amongst all the clouds. Pretty cool, huh? So that's really awesome. Okay, so the next thing I've got for you here is we basically, what if we had this sky and over the top we had this canopy, but what I wanted to do was remove this sky here because I wanted the other sky. I wanted clouds in there, right? And that other colored sky. Well, we can see that this is mostly on the blue channel, right? It's mostly blue. So how can we do the same thing using our channels? Well, let's go and click on the canopy. Let's change this to blue. And then what we go is this layer, let's get rid of blue. Boop, look at that. Nice, huh? Now there's still a bit of fringing here. This blue is still stuck on the fringing. So let's go ahead and break these apart. As you know, is our little routine now. Spread that out until you don't see any more of that fringing, and that fringing's gone. And there you go, you've got a new sky at the top of the canopy there. Nicely done. So what if you want to light something? So for example, I have this gentleman here and they're giving a good old thumbs up. And let's say we've got an orb. Now, I want to have that orb lighting the gentleman. So let's go ahead and make a layer on top. Let's get a nice soft brush. Let's go ahead and hold down Alt, sample some of the color here. And let's say I want, and this is on a new layer now, as you can see down here, I want to add a bit of light on his thumb, a bit of light on his hand. Okay, let's make that a bit bigger. I think the side of his face, right up until here, front of his face a little bit, his hair, his shirt, right, a little bit of his collar. Okay, and then we're going to have the background as well. It's going to be on the back of the board over here too. Okay, cool. So let's tidy it up a tiny bit. Boom. Okay, so in order to make it look like it's light, basically it just doesn't look right at the moment because the light is hitting everywhere. But what would actually happen is the light wouldn't be able to get into the little cracks and grooves in his wrinkles and things like that. And so what we do is we just remove those parts from the blend. All his texture and stuff will come through and he'll look like it's actually lighting him. Let me show you. So open the blend of this painted layer. And let's go ahead, underlying layer, let's protect all the dark little grooves and nooks and crannies. Like this. Now it's pretty harsh, so our little routine is we click this open. And there we go, looks like it's lighting him. Now it's a little full on, so we can go and bring that opacity down, right? Again, we can control our opacity. bring that down even more, bring it up a little. Okay, it looks like it's light again. We can turn it off and on, off and on. And you can even control it after the fact if you get an eraser. And let's say, oh, it should be on this side of his face. It's a bit impossible there. Or we want to get it and we say, oh, it should be a little more on the hand there, or a little more in this part here. You know, I missed a bit there on the wall, wherever. You can go and paint it in. Anything that you missed. Okay, you can go and paint that in. So that's really cool. So that's a cool little thing. Now, what about the next one I have for you? Well, you can do like a nice glowing rim light, right? So what you can do is basically see how she's got a rim light around the outside. What we want to do is we want to make that all stick out and glow, all like Days of Our Lives kind of looking. So what we'll do is we just duplicate this layer, and then in the top, so we've got one on top, the duplicated one on top, we just go straight to filter blur, good old Gaussian blur, right? 16, around 16, okay? And then what we're going to do now is we're going to change this to, we'll go ahead and we're going to protect the underlying layers, because we basically don't want this dark stuff in the middle to be touched. So let's protect the underlying layer like that, so that all we have is the outer edge now, right? And then let's go ahead and break that apart. Smoothly blend, okay? And then change this to your favorite lighting scheme. You know, these look all good. It's pretty intense. Okay, let's try screen. Turn it off and on. Let's do it a little bit stronger than that. What's the soft light like? Off and on, yeah. Let's do something full on like this. Okay, so you can see you're just lighting up that rim light along the edge, and then we can go ahead and just pull that down a bit if need be. Okay. Okay, so that's a cool little one. So hopefully these examples, you're starting to see how it all works. Now for this final one, just to try and let this all sink in for you, what we're going to do here is we're going to do a bit of a kind of a color grade, where we're going to get all the shadows and make them one color, and all the lights and make them a different color. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on this gentleman. Actually, before we do that, I wanted to quickly show you with the texture, right? Let's duplicate this texture really quickly, because I can show you something cool, right? Here's the texture over the top. Let's say we wanted to add this texture to him really easily. We can get the texture. We can go ahead and bring in, let's say we don't want any of the black and white information. So let's just go to image, adjustments, black and white. Then what we do is we can go ahead and underlying layer, let's protect the shadows of the underlying layer, see? Break that apart, make it smooth. Let's protect some of the lights, break that apart, make it smooth. What we've done is we've gone ahead and we're just bringing this texture, and I'll show you how that's going to look in just a second. Okay, and we can go ahead and control the opacity. Just like that. See, and just with blend if, we've automatically just brought in some texture. Right? Like it's an old photograph or a bit of grunge or whatever, and we put it on there and that looks kind of cool. Right? So yeah, we'll go ahead and turn that off. Now, like I said, let's do our little color grade thing. Okay, so go ahead and we're going to add a solid color. It doesn't matter what color. And then what we say is, hey, we want this to be in the lights. So click on the solid color. And so we say we want it to be in the lights. So let's protect the shadows. Don't touch the shadows of the underlying picture. Right, let's split that part so that it's nice and smooth. Okay. And then we can go ahead and control the opacity. Okay. And now we add another one, add another solid color. And let's change it to whatever. Make it a little darker because it's a shadow. Okay. And then what we're going to do is double click. And we want it to be in the shadows, so we're protecting the lights. We don't want it to touch the lights, only the shadows. Let's go ahead here. Let's go ahead and break that apart. Okay. And then we're going to bring down the opacity. Okay. And as you can see here, that's before, that's after. Okay, we get like a color graded effect because we've colored selectively only in the shadows or only in the lights according to what we want. After the fact, we can go in and start messing around with colors, start deciding what kind of colors we like. Pick something. This looks kind of interesting here. Let's try. Maybe something over here. Let's really push the green. That's nice. Really push the blue. There we go. To get a nice effect like that. Okay, that's before, that's after. Okay, try some more of this. Let's go really. Oh yeah, some orange. Let's go back here and go back to the teal. Oh yeah. Okay. And then again, let's reduce the opacity. Okay, like that. So there we go, we get some really nice effects. Hopefully this demonstration has shown you all the different ways that BlendIF works. Hopefully you've got more of a total understanding of it and you can really get in there and play with it. I really hope this video helped. Thanks so much for watching it. Have a good one. Bye.